Hello everyone. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had to choose between love and responsibility? Where your heart pulls you one way, but fate pushes you another? This is the next chapter in the journey of Diep and CEO James, a love story that has already weathered storms of sickness, insecurity, and heartbreak. But now, a storm is coming that neither of them saw coming. At first, everything seemed to be getting better. Diep's health had finally improved, her recovery reaching nearly full strength. She was still thin, still pale, but she could walk around the hospital garden, laugh with the nurses, and smile when James showed up with her favorite strawberry milk. James, always busy running meetings and juggling boardroom politics, still made time to sit by her bedside every night. He would stroke her hair, whisper updates about the farm animals, or share funny business stories just to make her laugh. Their bond had only grown deeper. James was even planning to take her home soon, away from the beeping machines and sterile walls, to a small countryside house he had prepared near the family farm. "Fresh air will help you heal faster," he said. Diep only smiled, quietly tucking away the ring box she had once returned to him. She wasn't ready yet, but she was getting closer. Then the letter came. It arrived quietly, wrapped in expensive cream paper, delivered by a polite young man in a suit. Diep almost didn't open it, assuming it was hospital paperwork. But when she broke the golden seal, her fingers began to tremble. It was an invitation. Not to an event, but to meet someone. A woman named Lanon, who claimed to be her biological mother. The name meant nothing to Diep. But the company printed at the top, **Van Min Corporation**, made her chest tighten. Even she knew that name. Van Min was a corporate empire, known for its massive real estate holdings, its private jets, and its bitter rivalry with James' family business. The letter claimed that Diep was the long-lost daughter of the Van Min family, given away as a baby after a scandal and presumed lost in a fire at the orphanage where she was raised. Now, after years of searching, her biological mother was on her deathbed, and had finally found her. Diep stared at the page in shock. Her whole life, she had believed she was unwanted, abandoned, forgotten. And now she was being told she was not just wanted, but was the heiress to one of the wealthiest families in the country? But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was James. James, who had already sacrificed so much to be with her. Who had argued with his board, faced pressure from investors, and risked his position by dating a woman with no background, no education, and no family. He had chosen her again and again, simply because he loved her. How could she now tell him that she was the daughter of the enemy? That night, James came to the hospital like always. His eyes were tired but soft, his hair messy from the wind. He brought strawberry milk and a new book for her to read. He kissed her forehead like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Diep hid the letter in her pillowcase. She couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not until she understood what this all meant. Was it true? Was it a trap? And most painfully, what would James do when he found out? Would he still love her? Would his powerful family ever accept her? Would his mother, already skeptical of their relationship, see her as a threat? The next day, her answer came in the form of a long, black car pulling into the hospital driveway. The driver opened the door. A frail, elegant woman stepped out. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. She looked at Diep and whispered, "My daughter." Diep froze. Her legs went numb. Behind her, James walked into the hallway just in time to see the scene unfold. The truth was out. And nothing would ever be the same again. The hospital corridor was silent, except for the soft ticking of the wall clock. James stood frozen just steps away, watching Diep face a woman she barely knew, a woman who, only moments ago, had called her daughter. Diep turned toward James, her expression full of fear, confusion, and guilt. James, always calm under pressure, seemed momentarily stunned. His eyes met the elegant woman's, Lanon, and recognition sparked in his gaze. He knew who she was. Everyone in the corporate world did. Lana wasn't just the matriarch of Van Min Corporation, she was the very woman his father had once called our greatest rival. A woman whose business moves had nearly crushed James' family company in the past. And now, she was claiming to be Diep's mother? The silence shattered when Lana stepped forward and gently took Diep's hand. Her voice was weak but full of longing. "I've searched for you my whole life. I never stopped believing you were alive." Diep trembled. She had dreamed of a mother for so long, imagined what it would be like to be held, to be wanted. But standing there, caught between her past and present, she felt like a child again, small, unsure, afraid of choosing wrong. James approached slowly, placing a protective arm around Diep's shoulders. "You're saying she's your daughter?" he asked flatly. Lana nodded, her eyes misting over. "I know it's hard to believe, but I have proof. DNA results. Records. I never abandoned her willingly. It was complicated." James didn't argue. Not yet. He simply nodded, his jaw clenched. Later that evening, in Diep's hospital room, the tension finally broke. "Why didn't you tell me?" James asked, his voice low. "I didn't know how," Diep whispered. "I was scared. I still am." James sat beside her, his hands gripping hers. "Scared of what? That I'd stop loving you?" "No," she said. "That I'd destroy everything you built. That you'd have to choose between me and your family." James didn't answer immediately. He stared out the window at the city lights. Finally, he said, "I've fought so hard to prove to my parents that loving you wasn't a mistake. And now they'll think this is confirmation of everything they feared." Diep's voice cracked. "Then maybe I should leave." "No," he snapped, louder than intended. Then softer, "No. I won't lose you." But even as he said it, James felt the pull of two worlds tearing him apart. At the board meeting the next morning, the news had already spread. Whispers about Diep's lineage raced through the room. James' father, grim-faced, said coldly, "You realize this means your girlfriend is now a major shareholder in our biggest competitor." James tried to reason with them. "She didn't ask for any of this. She didn't even know." But the damage was done. Diep, too, was being pulled into her own storm. Her newly found mother had plans. A position in Van Min's company, an inheritance, a press release. "You don't need to stay with him," Lana said gently. "You have your own legacy now." But Diep's heart wasn't in boardrooms or legacy. It was with James, in the quiet nights at the hospital, the strawberry milk, the shared dreams of a small life, a peaceful farm. She felt like a pawn in a game she never agreed to play. And James? He was beginning to drown in expectations from every side, his board demanding he distance himself, his parents questioning his judgment, and now, his own heart divided between duty and love. One night, overwhelmed, he drove to the countryside house he had prepared for Diep. There, under the stars, he fell to his knees and asked himself a question he never thought he'd face. If loving her destroys everything, would I still choose her? Back in the hospital, Diep clutched the unopened ring box James had left behind that morning. She didn't know what he would decide. But she knew what she felt. She didn't want fortune. She didn't want legacy. She just wanted him. ***. Rain tapped gently on the hospital windows as Diep stared at the ceiling, lost in a whirlwind of questions. She wasn't the same girl who came here weeks ago, fragile, uncertain, holding on to James as if he were the only light in her world. She had grown stronger, but now, her world was even more complicated. A nurse entered with a warm smile. "You have a visitor," she said softly. Diep sat up, half expecting James. But it was Madame Lu, James' mother. Her elegant presence filled the room with quiet tension. Dressed in a sleek navy coat, her expression was unreadable, part judgment, part concern. Diep stood slowly. "Auntie." Madame Lu raised her hand. "No need to pretend anymore. I know everything." Diep lowered her gaze. "I didn't mean to lie. I didn't know who I was. Madame Lee's eyes didn't waver. And now that you do, what will you do with that truth? I don't know, Diep whispered. All I ever wanted was peace. A life with James. That hasn't changed. Madame Lou sighed. You've always been kind. That's why I didn't oppose your relationship at first. But this is war. Business war. Family war. Do you think love survives that? I think real love survives everything, Diep replied. Her voice was quiet, but firm. Madame Lou looked at her for a long moment. Then she said something unexpected. You remind me of myself, long ago. Before I married into this world of expectations. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. Just be sure that when this storm passes, you still recognize yourself. Meanwhile, James was in his office, staring at a photo of him and Diep from their early days, laughing at a noodle shop, no titles, no family secrets, just love. But now, he couldn't even protect her. His phone rang. It was his father. We need to meet, Mr. Liu said sharply. Van Min Corporation made a move this morning. They pulled out of the shared timber project and launched a rival campaign. The timing isn't a coincidence. James rubbed his temples. You think Diep had anything to do with it? Of course not, his father said. But the world won't see it that way. And neither will our shareholders. James was being pushed into a corner, expected to end the relationship, to make a public statement, to act like a CEO. But his heart didn't operate like a business. He slammed his laptop shut and stormed out. Later that day, James showed up at Van Min headquarters. He walked straight to Lan An's private office, ignoring the stares. She looked up, unsurprised. James. I figured we'd talk eventually. James didn't sit. You're using her. Turning her into your pawn. She's my daughter. She's a person, not a chess piece. Lan An stood. You think I wanted this? I lost her once. I won't lose her again. I'm giving her a life you never could. James clenched his fists. You're giving her a prison in the shape of a throne. Lan An's expression darkened. You don't understand what legacy means. No, James said. I understand what love means. And if you force her to choose between you and me, you'll lose her again. He turned and left before she could answer. That night, James returned to the hospital. Diep was packing her things, ready for discharge. You're leaving? He asked. She nodded. They're taking me to my mother's estate. Just for a while. To rest. James's heart ached. You don't have to go. I do, she said, meeting his eyes. There are questions I need answers to. And you need space. I see the pressure you're under. He stepped closer. I don't care about pressure. I care about you. But I care about your future, she whispered. He held her tightly. Then stay. We'll face it together. But Diep pulled back. Not yet. I need to understand where I come from, before I decide where I belong. James didn't stop her. He watched her leave in a black car, her hand pressed to the window like a goodbye. It wasn't a breakup. Not exactly. But it felt like the beginning of distance. At the estate, Diep was welcomed with warmth, luxury, and family she never knew she had. Cousins. Staff. Security. But at night, she lay awake missing the smell of James' coffee, the sound of him pacing as he memorized contracts, the way he held her hand in silence when words failed. She had found everything, except peace. And James, back in the city, dove into work like a man trying to outrun his own heart. He made public statements. Took meetings. Even announced a foundation for underprivileged women, Diep's idea, brought to life. But without her, none of it mattered. Every success tasted hollow. Every applause echoed with her absence. The distance between their hearts was growing, but love was still alive. Barely. Silently. Waiting. Weeks passed. Diep's life at the Van Min estate was everything her past could never have imagined: daily banquets, silk dresses, an entire team at her command. Yet something felt off. Her laughter was polite, her smile rehearsed. She was living in luxury, but her heart was stuck in a small hospital room, where James once brought her strawberry milk. She missed his chaos, his gentleness beneath the businessman's armor, his faith in her when she didn't even believe in herself. One afternoon, Diep found an old photo album in her late grandmother's chest. Between faded pages, she discovered a picture of a young woman holding a baby, herself. Behind them stood a man with eyes just like hers, her father. Suddenly, everything clicked. Lanon had built an empire on strength, but it had come at a cost. She'd erased a softer past. A past filled with love. Diep realized then, she wasn't born to carry her mother's empire or her pain. She was born to live her own truth. Back in the city, James stood before a crowd at a major business conference. Cameras flashed as he announced his biggest move yet, the merger of two companies. His and Van Min's. Gasps filled the room. Even his board was shocked. James took a deep breath. This isn't just about business. It's about healing. About building a future where love and legacy don't have to fight each other. Reporters shouted questions. One asked, "Does this have anything to do with Miss Too Diep?" James looked straight into the lens. Everything. That night, James visited the small strawberry milk shop near the hospital, their place. To his surprise, Diep was there, standing at the counter, her hair pulled back, eyes full of the same fire he fell in love with. "You're here," he whispered. "I never really left," she replied. He stepped forward. "I made a choice today." "I saw. I made one too." They stood silently for a beat, then she added, "If we're going to rewrite our story, let's start with no secrets." "No secrets," he promised, holding out his hand. She took it. And in that moment, not in the boardroom, not in the estate, but in a tiny milk shop, their worlds finally aligned. Not as heirs. Not as victims of legacy. But simply, as James and Diep. Two hearts choosing each other, again. If you believe in love that fights through every obstacle, then show it. Like this video if you've ever rooted for Diep and James. Comment your favorite moment or what shocked you most about Diep's true identity. And don't forget to subscribe to follow their journey, because trust me, their story is just getting started.